Coming to you live from the heartland, it's the Conservative Neighbor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You've reached the Conservative Neighbor. I'm Jim, your host. Today we're going to talk about Obama hanging out with communists hell-bent on genocide, the possible end of a dictatorship. Antifa is at it again, rioting on the left coast. We'll be back with that and more right after this. There is a Chinese proverb, and some say it's a curse. It says, may you live in interesting times. Well, it can easily be said that we live in interesting times today. There's absolutely no doubt about it. We've got riots going on the left coast this weekend. Obama hanging out in South Africa with communists who appear to be hell-bent on genocide, offering all sorts of praise and everything for the country while they prepare to take land from people whose families have owned for hundreds of years. They're just going to take it, not going to give them any numerical value of the property, according to the economy. They're not going to give them anything. They're just going to go in and they're just going to snatch up this property and say, too bad, so sad, it's now ours. That's just the way they're going to do it. Well, Obama is down there hanging out with their government, just making things look like it's great, like it's fantastic. He gives this speech. Each day's news cycle brings more head-spinning and disturbing headlines. He's talking about the United States while he's in a country that's about to amend their constitution to allow the seizure of land from people simply because they're white. Not saying anything in his speech about the fact that the communists, yes, we're talking straight up Lenin, Marx, Stalin, communist-type people who have promised white genocide. They're going to kill all the white people in South Africa. Now, if it were me, I would be gone, but I'm not there, and I'm thankful for that. I'm right here in the greatest country in the world, United States of America. But Obama is down there speaking to these people, giving them a speech, giving them respect, giving them honor, while they're planning on exterminating a large portion of their population simply because of their ancestry. Yet he says that he's not racist. The white genocide that they're promising is so imminent, that the land seizures are so imminent that their president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has said that they are going to initiate the parliamentary process to amend their constitution to allow the legal taking of land from people simply because they happen to be born white. Wow. And Obama's down there just hanging out with them like everything's great, doesn't say a thing. What's that tell you about him? Birds of a feather flock together. There's no doubt about it. These people have lived on this land since the 1600s. Now imagine that, living on the same plot of land since the 1600s. And yet you're able to keep the land fertile. Your knowledge of farming is so extensive that despite refarming the same land over and over again, for that long, for over 400 years, it still grows, and now you're just going to turn the land over. You're just going to take the land and hand it over to people who have no idea what they're doing. Another country did that. It's just to the north of them, and they've had nothing but famine since then. So good luck there, South Africa. But if I could make a request, if you're going to steal their land without giving them any compensation for it, at least just remove them from the country without killing them. There's no reason to kill all of them. Obviously, you can, if you don't want them there, that's wrong with what you're doing. They've lived there. They were born there. There's no reason to kick them out. And they help your country. They literally help your country. So why kick them out? But that's what's going on. And why is it going on? Because it's communists. It is communist. Communism has killed a confirmed 120 million people in 100 years, and it's estimated to actually be closer to triple that, to nearly 300 million people killed because of communism. And that's exactly what's going on in South Africa. Obama's just down there hanging out with these people that are straight up talking about genocide on white people, stealing their land. You could argue that it was originally the South African, the people that lived there in South Africa originally's land. And yeah, there is that case, but was it a farm? Was it productive land? You could go back and forth on that forever. But the fact of the matter is, what we're looking at is the here and now. Is we're talking about a whole group of people in an entire country that have lived there for hundreds of years are going to be wiped out simply because of the color of their skin. This isn't anything new for Africa, though. It goes on up just north of them with the Muslims and the Christians. The Hutus and the Tutsis are a good example of that. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's mostly, though, the Hutus, the Muslims, that are attacking the Tutsis. And what are they there for? They're hell-bent on genocide. It's a sad, sad thing what's going on in Africa and around the world, but it is what it is. But it's very telling when our former president visits South Africa, does not say a word about planned genocide. Imagine if we brought Adolf Hitler back and you bring him around and people start praising him for what he did. I mean, could you just imagine? It's not much different than what Obama's doing. They just haven't killed the people yet. He's praising people that are planning on butchering an entire segment of their population, but didn't say a single word in condemnation of their acts. That's our former president. People want to talk about Trump. People want to say bad things about President Trump when you've got Obama down there knowing that they're going to kill the white people down there simply because they're white people, and he says nothing about it. He doesn't condemn them. He doesn't say anything negative about it. That tells you pretty much everything you need to know about Obama, and it pretty much tells you everything you need to know about his supporters. There's just something wrong in those heads, just something wrong. No morals and a lot of evil. We'll be right back after this. Well, things are continuing to heat up in the Middle East. It's almost beginning to look like we could be seeing a war between Saudi Arabia and Israel versus Iran. It sounds almost incredulous to even say that. I'm going to repeat it, and I want you to just think about it for a moment. Saudi Arabia and Israel are going to war against Iran. It's a very, very possible thing coming out of the Middle East right now, with threats coming from the Iranian president saying that if Iran can't export through the Persian Gulf, no one will do this. Either everyone will export or no one. Well, obviously, this did not go over well with Saudi Arabia, nor did it go over well with Israel. Threats began going back and forth. Netanyahu came out, straight up said, he said, if Iran tries to block the Straits of Bab al-Mandab, it will find itself facing an international coalition determined to prevent it from doing so. And this coalition will also include the state of Israel and all its arms. Well, that's very clear what he's saying right there. If you block that, we're going to bomb the bejesus out of you. We're gonna knock you into the Stone Age. They've already said they could do that with Hezbollah. They literally said they could bomb Hezbollah back into the Stone Age if they chose to do so. Personally, given how they did in the 6-Day War with much inferior equipment and what they have for equipment now, you would have to be insane to want to go to war with Israel. Sure, the United States could do it, but we're never going to. We're never going to go to war with Israel. Only a country the size of the United States, Russia, if they were full hell-bent on taking Israel and we weren't supplying Israel, yeah, they could take Israel out, probably. And the Chinese, sheer numbers speak it, but nobody in the Middle East. There is nobody in the Middle East whose military could withstand a full-scale attack by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. It's not going to happen. Their defense minister for Israel was pretty blunt as well. And it's an what's his name here? Avigdor Lieberman backed up Netanyahu, saying we've had heard of threats of harm to Israeli ships in the Red Sea. He promised that the Israeli military is ready to respond simultaneously on two fronts and the Red Sea. Only in that case we would be less selective and the harm to our enemies would be greater. I hope they take that into account, he added. So we're seriously looking at the possibility of war in the Middle East if Iran continues. It grows a little bit more likely when you consider the fact that they're losing control of their country. They have had riots and protests off and on now for months, and you don't hear about this in the mainstream media. You can go look it up. Just type in Iran in the news on Google and then go to the news options and look for it, and you'll find information on it. But you'll notice that the mainstream media is generally not talking about the fact that Iran is in a lot of turmoil right now. Well, why are they in a lot of turmoil right now? The reason they're in a lot of Iran is in a lot of turmoil right now is because their economy is collapsing. Well, why is their economy collapsing? Because they're a country of about 27 million people. They're trying to take on the United States. They've had sanctions put against them. They're about to have a bunch more sanctions put against them. They simply don't have the economy that can withstand that sort of thing. So they've had riots because the people don't want to live with shortages simply because the government is hell-bent on building nuclear bombs. We're literally talking about a country with a population smaller than 3 U.S. states, New York, Texas, and California. And they're trying to bully the U.S. and bully the Middle East. They're not even Texas could beat them by themselves. Heck, the women of Texas could stomp a mud hole in Iran by themselves. And they're talking trash. Now the people are fed up. Honestly, if you had to live under Sharia law 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and literally have morality police running around watching everything you do, and if you don't do what they want you to do, what's prescribed to be okay by the Ayatollah and his cronies, then you get flogged or thrown in prison, and generally they're just abused just because you don't follow their exact tenet of Islam. And it's the way it is. They live in tyranny. They live in tyranny. It's terrible to see, but they're fed up with it. And it's good to see that the Iranian people are finally fed up. They've had all they can stand. They can't stand no more. I don't know if they eat spinach in Iran, but maybe they need to watch some Popeye cartoons and remember those moments where Popeye finally said, I've had all I can stand. I can't stand no more. And then they can stand up for themselves. Iran can go back to being a forward-thinking nation, a nation that allows freedom like they once were before the Islamic Revolution. It would be a wonderful thing to see. Hopefully, we can help make that happen with these sanctions. We'll be right back after this. Yeah, we are back here on the Conservative Neighbor, and speaking of riots, the left coast was rocking and rolling this weekend again. Up in Portland, the conservatives are trying to simply walk peacefully through the city, speak their mind, and address their grievances, issue their redress of grievances, basically just enact their First Amendment rights. That's all they want to do, is have an undisturbed, peaceful march through the city of Portland. But because the city of Portland allows Antifa to interfere with these, they have as yet been unable to. Now, this last month, it got really, really interesting in Portland because the Patriot Prayer Group that went out there, they're just regular old people, just like anybody else. They just happen to have kahunas of steel, and a titanium spine because they're willing to face month after month after month these crazed communists that call themselves anti-fascists if you look at their actions, they're behaving in a very fascist manner. But this Patriot Prayer Group, accompanied by the Portland's Proud Boys, have duked it out with Antifa and their allies time and time again. Kind of become a thing now where they're trying to prove a point with the whole nation by making an example of the city of Portland, because all they simply want to do is have a peaceful march of conservative Christian to express their First Amendment rights in the city of Portland, but they have been unable to complete their march as of yet because of a mob of communists. Literally, a mob of communists in the United States preventing peaceful Christian Americans from simply walking through their town waving American flags. Now, could you ever imagine that America would be at a point to where communist mobs were interfering with the free speech rights of Americans? Did you ever imagine seeing that in your entire life? Well, here we are, 2018. Thank you, Obama, for stirring things up like you did. And thank you for every other president before for allowing the foundations of this rat's nest we've got infesting the left in America now. It could have been all ended if they had simply followed laws that are on the books that don't allow communism in the United States. It's literally illegal. But yet we've allowed it to flourish because people don't want to make waves by doing the right thing, even though it'll be unpopular. And that's where we've come up to now. Now, the beauty of what went on in Portland is the Patriot Prayer Group and the Proud Boys had no problems with the police. But Antifa decided, because they were effectively blocked off from attacking the conservatives, they decided instead to turn their munitions on the police, and they were throwing the police says it's an unidentified chemical. Of course, Antifa is well known for making low-powered IEDs that really don't harm you, but, I mean, I guess they're an irritant and could harm you if they got in your face. But nevertheless, when Antifa started doing that, well, then the police said enough of this nonsense, whipped out the flashbangs and the tear gas and waded into the crowd and arrested several people. They went ahead and searched a big bunch more of them and found a bunch of weapons. Imagine that. Not supposed to bring weapons to your protest. What do the communists do? They bring weapons every single time. Well, at least this time, the police went after the aggressors, whereas before they would disarm the peaceful people and allow the people with the weapons to go unchecked. So it's a little bit nice of a turn of pace for the city of Portland. It's still not enough. They were wearing, we had mask-wearing people, and not all of them went to jail. And they threatened to do so they need to back it up. And if any of them were wearing masks, they all need to go to jail. As soon as their parents have to bail them out enough times, this nonsense will come to an end. It's been a fun thing there on the left coast there this weekend, as it always will be, and it will be until we get rid of these communists out of this country. Communism is evil. 3 generations served, fought, died to keep communism out of America, and we should not be willing to tolerate it, and that's just the way it should be. We'll be right back after this. Well, as we said at the beginning of the episode, may you live in interesting times. I think it's safe to say that we all do live in some very interesting times. But on a good note, over the course of the weekend, a group of people known as Overpasses for America went out to some overpasses across the nation to try to help a campaign called #WalkAway. It's walk away. What it is just asking Democrats to walk away from their party. If it doesn't represent your values anymore, just walk away. While it'd be great if you voted Republican, it's not expected that you would right away, but just walk away from the Democrats. Don't reward a party that doesn't represent you with your vote. Just walk away from the Democratic Party. Well, all over the country, there were people out asking Democrats to do that, to just #walk away. Just go Google it. It's all over the place. It's really great. And you can go to the Overpasses for America page on Facebook, and you look in their photos, and there's a whole bunch of pictures there of their rallies asking Democrats to walk away from the party that no longer represents them. There's some videos in there explaining exactly why some Democrats should walk away and some live footage of their events. So check it out. And if you know a Democrat, just straight up ask them, does the party represent you anymore? And if they say no, then just tell them, hey, #walk away. And they'll say, what do you mean? Say, listen, you don't have to be a Republican. You don't have to jump on the Trump train today. It'd be great if you did. But hey, if you can't do that, just walk away. If the Democratic Party doesn't represent your values, then don't reward them with your vote. Vote for an independent. Vote for somebody else. but don't reward the Democratic Party with your vote. Just walk away. It's best for America. You know in your heart it is. Thank you for being here today. We'll be back next time. God bless you, and God bless America.
Don't label us left or right. Our American. Not looking for a war, but we came to fight.